Welcome to the first session for this third module, wherein which we will be majorly concentrating on flat plate collectors. So here we will study the performance analysis and the equations which deals with the flat plate collector's performance. So before I just go through the syllabus of the flat plate collectors, I would like to tell you a small introduction. A flat plate collector is one of the majorly or popularly used solar applications in the domestic as well as even in the industrial sector also, where in the domestic purpose we use it for the water heating and the lighting purpose, whereas in the industrial purposes they use it for generation of electricity, and this electricity will be utilized. And this flat plate collectors, the liquid flat plate collectors, plays a vital role in deciding the economic uh, status of the industries as well. Okay, now in this module we will be talking about the performance analysis of the liquid flat plate collectors, in which the general description will be given, collector geometry we are going to discuss, and the selective surface, what is this selective surface, how this selective surface will influence the performance of a liquid flat plate collector. And then we will deal it with the basic energy balance equations that I have provided in the presentation. Then what do you mean by stagnation temperature, what is the role of this stagnation temperature, we will discuss it. Then we will also talk about transmissivity of the cover system, and then transmissivity and absorptivity of the product. We will study numericals actually at the end of the third module, that is maybe in the seventh or eighth session we will discuss about the numerical examples based on this performance analysis of the flat plate collectors. Then the overall loss coefficient, what is this overall loss coefficient for a liquid flat plate collector, we are going to study about this. And there are a few correlations for the top, bottom and the side losses. When you have a flat plate collector like this, there will be always the losses which are incurred by the side and by the bottom, and then maybe the top losses, that we briefly we have discussed in the previous module, where we studied the routine, the shading factors, and then the dust which are going to place it on the surface of the flat plate collector. That is all comes under the top loss coefficient, and how to correlate them mathematically. We are going to talk about those things in this module. Then we will discuss about the temperature distribution between the collector tubes, collector heat removal factor, and the collector efficiency factor, and also the collector flow factor. These are the few factors which are related to the temperature distribution. Okay, then the mean plate temperature, instantaneous efficiency, all the expressions we are going to deal, and no derivations as of now. Okay, and then we will talk about effect of various parameters on the collector performance, and then the collector orientation, and then selective surface we have already discussed over here, and we will study the effect of these parameters which related to the collector performance. And then fluid inlet temperature, number of covers that we are going to place it for a flat plate collector, and then the dust factor we will discuss it. And in the second chapter of this third module, we will talk about the photovoltaic conversions. Photovoltaic conversions are the basic entities, that is which are made up of semiconductors, which converts the solar radiations into electrical energy directly. No, actually we will be talking about these all photovoltaic conversions. It's only because the liquid flat plate collectors will have this photovoltaic cells, or solar cells, what we popularly call it as a solar cells or photovoltaic cells, it will be having it. So we will talk about the photovoltaic conversions with the description and principle of working and characteristics, applications of these solar cells or photovoltaic cells. Before I just proceed with this flat plate collectors, basically the basic parts that make up the conventional liquid flat plate collector will have the different parts, like the absorber plate, the tube fixed to the absorber plate through which the liquid to be heated flow, and then the transparent cover which allows the solar radiations to fall onto the collector, and then it will be passes through the passed towards the absorber where the solar radiations will be absorbed and it will not be allowed to escape out back to the space. That is what the beauty of this transparent cover. It can be made up of a plastic or it can be made up of a glass. Okay, then the collector box. The main advantage of a flat plate collector is that it utilizes both the beam and diffuse components of the solar radiations. We have already dealt what is a beam radiation and what is a diffuse radiation. Beam radiations are the one radiations which are reaching to the surface without any scattering or deviation or transference or reflections. So those we call it as the beam radiations, and the diffuse radiations are the one which are reaching to the surface after the scattering, after the deviation in the path because of the various factors which are present in the atmosphere, maybe because of the water particles, maybe because of the dust, because of the pollution also. It all happens. So this flat plate, the beauty of this flat plate collectors, it utilizes, it takes both the beam and diffuse radiations. That is a major advantage. In addition to that, because of its simple stationary design, it requires a little maintenance. Its principle of its principal disadvantage is that because of the absence of optical concentration. Optical concentration, actually, even we cannot say it as a disadvantage. We can take it as a, we can overcome this with the concentrating collectors also. Is it clear? But in this flat plate collectors, concentrating collectors will also have that concentrating one, but optical concentration. But what happens in the flat plate collectors, because it will be placed flat, there will not be any reflections. Okay, so the absence of optical concentration, the area from which heat is lost is large. As a result, this is the way, this is the heat is lost. It's only because of the side, bottom and the top losses that we are going to discuss in the later part of this module. And then uh, as a result, the collection efficiency is generally low. The required the liquid which is being placed in this flat plate collectors will be heated generally, which is in 99 out of the 100 times we will use water. That will be as a working fluid or medium in the flat plate collectors. However, sometimes mixture of water and ethylene glycol are also being used if ambient temperatures are below 0 degree centigrade. It is only because ethylene glycol has got a lower boiling point and melting point. So the environmental cases where the temperature is less than 0 degree centigrade or it is very cold countries, in such kind of applications we use along with the water the ethylene glycol is also been used. The absorber plate is usually made up of thin metal sheet ranging from the thickness of 0.2 to 0.7 mm, while the tubes which are also made up of metals, that is preferably aluminum or the copper, because of their higher thermal conductivity. Okay, which are ranges in the diameter of 1 to 1.5 centimeters. They are soldered, brazed, and pressure bonded to the bottom of the absorber plate with the pitch ranging from 5 to 12 centimeters. In some designs, the tubes are bonded to up to the extent that it will be in a almost maximum physical contact with the absorber plate. As much as it is in physical uh, contact with the absorber plate, so much of heat will be gained. That means the heat loss or leakages will be minimum. That is the intentions behind of making the more surface contact between the absorber plates and to the tubes in which the water or the liquid is used. Basically, this solar thermal collectors collects heat by absorbing sunlight or radiations. The term solar collector commonly refers to a device for solar hot water heating. Now, because these flat plate collectors are also used for air heaters also, but we are just talking about in particularly liquid. So I just will talk about the water only. Even this ethylene glycol is also will be in the liquid state. So no point of talking about the other deviations. Okay. but may refer to large power generating installations such as solar parabolic troughs and solar towers or non-water heating devices such as solar air heaters. Now, this is what I wanted to make a point over here. When we talk about the solar parabolic troughs, which are not extensively used for heating the water devices such as solar air heaters. Is it clear? Now, solar thermal collectors are either non-concentrating or concentrating. I'm talking about solar thermal collectors, not the flat plate collectors. Okay, the flat plate collectors, keep it in mind, it is always a non-concentrating device collectors. Is it clear? In non-concentrating collectors, the aperture area. What do you mean by aperture area? The area that receives, the area which is available, or the area which effectively receives the solar radiation, that is what we call it as an aperture area, is roughly the same as the absorber area. So, okay, no, that means to say that if this is a plate, if this is an absorber, the absorbing area is almost same as that of the aperture area. It will be same thing. So as much as possible, we will make that this aperture area must be equals to the absorber area. Is it clear? It is only because to gain maximum solar radiations and convert that into useful form. That's it. The area will be the similar. A common example of such a system is a metal plate that is painted in a dark color to maximize the absorption of sunlight. This is what the idea behind it. The energy is then collected by cooling the plate with a working fluid, often water or glycol, ethylene glycol or glycol, running in pipes attached to the plate. Basically, these concentrating collectors have a much larger aperture than the absorber area. How it will be more collectors area will be more than the aperture area? It is only because concentrating collectors will always have a reflections. So, as we just discussed here, in this point, this aperture area will have a magnetic reflections, magnetic absorption section will be there, within which all the radiations will be reflected and it has been collected at a line, in the line wise, or it may be in a point concentrating. So even these concentrating collectors will have a two. One is the line concentrating collectors and the other one is a point concentrating collector. In a point concentrating collectors, what happens? All the solar radiations will be reflected and have been asked to meet at a single point where this heat will be extracted. Whereas the line is something like a pipe, a pipe like structure which will be like a half cylindrical shape. So it will be collected at the middle along the line of pipe. The aperture is typically in the form of a mirror. That is what this aperture will be, a mirror, something like, because it has to reflect. It has to reflect if the solar radiations which are coming over here like this, because it is something like an umbrella. If it is coming over here, it is made up of a mirror. This mirror, when the solar radiations falls onto this mirror, it reflects back at a particular angle towards a tracing point. Is it clear? So this aperture is typically in the form of mirror that is focused on the absorber, which is which in most cases are the pipes carrying the working fluid. This absorber will be directly the pipes. Due to the movement of the sun during the day, concentrating collectors often require some form of solar tracking system. That is what are sometimes referred to active collectors for this reason. Now, this is the major drawback of this concentrating collectors, where because as the sun moves with different angles, this concentrating collectors has to be have some tracking system, or else what happen, the shading factor will come into picture. If the sun comes in the east, it will be like this. In the east, it will be like this. What happens? Sun will be, rays will be falling like this. When sun it is at the afternoon times, it is in 12 p.m. So it will be like this. So solar radiations will not be falling onto this directly. So in that context, what do it is, we need to have a tracking systems. Okay. So the non-concentrating collectors are typically used in residential, industrial and commercial buildings. So that means to say that, please be point, in a concentrating collectors we need to have a tracking systems in order to trace the path of the sun, whereas here in non concentrating collectors they are fixed, so no need for the tracking of the system. So these non-concentrating collectors are typically used in residential, industrial and commercial buildings for space heating and space cooling applications also. While concentrating collectors in concentrated solar power plants generate electricity by heating a heat transfer fluid to drive a turbine connected to an electrical generator. Okay, these flat plate and evacuated tube solar collectors are mainly used to collect heat for space heating, domestic hot water or cooling with an absorption chillers. Now let me talk about the performance analysis. We are just into the main core of this module, the performance analysis. So any device, when we are using it for the thermal applications, we need to have a performance study in order to design the solar flat plate collectors. The performance of solar collectors can be improved by enhancing the useful energy gain from incident solar radiation with minimum losses. Thermal losses have three components: the conductive loss, convective loss, and radiative loss. Now, my dear friends, what do you mean by conductive loss, convective loss, and radiative loss? Before I explain this, I just would like to tell you the heat transfer may always take place by any of these types or maybe the combination of these types. The three modes is a conduction, convection, and then the radiation. Conduction, which in most of the cases occurs when there are two bodies, solids, are in physical contact, then the conduction will take place. A convection is one. A convection is one wherein which before I proceed, this is the way the tubes which are below the absorber plates will be taken the heat. The absorber, this is absorber plate, and there will be a number of copper tubes will absorb this heat by the conduction process. Is that clear? From the absorber plate. What do you mean by convection? Convection is the one mode of heat transfer wherein which the heat transfer does takes place between solid to the fluid. Whenever I'm talking about a fluid can be a gas or it can be a liquid also. Is that clear? Between a solid to a fluid and within the fluid, or between the fluid to the solid. Between the solid and fluid, between the fluid itself and between the fluid and solid. Now I'll give you an example. Say for example, if you're heating a water, if you're heating a water in a vessel is made up of a metal, you're heating the vessel, not the water directly. So the vessel will heat the water in the other way. So the heat is transferred from solid to the liquid. Now the water is being heated. If it starts boiling or getting heated, if you touch, no need to touch the water. Above the water level, if you put your hands, you feel hot. That means the air above the water is being heated. That means between the water and air, there is a heat interaction. So this is the beauty, my dear friends. That is what we call it as a convection. Newton law of cooling will talks about this convection. Okay, it is. I don't want to go much deeper. Okay, next let us go to the radiative losses. Radiation losses doesn't require any material medium. So even in the space, it just gives out the heat by the electromagnetic radiations. That is how we are getting the solar radiations from the sun. Okay, these thermal losses can occur by three ways. One is a conductive loss, convective loss, and then the radiative losses. Conductive loss is reduced. It can be reduced by providing insulation on the rear and the sides of the absorber plates. Actually, we will provide the insulators. It may be made up of a wood. Insulator is a thermal insulator. I'm not talking about electrical insulator. We are talking about only the thermal or a heat factors. So the thermal heaters, it may be a wool or it may be a wood or it may be a plastic or it may be any thermal insulator will be placed around the plates, observer plates. Convective heat loss can be minimized by keeping an air gap about 2 centimeters between the cover and the plate. That is what, if you have a collector like this, and this is a what is this cover, transparent cover, between this surface and the transparent cover minimum 2 centimeters of distance has to be maintained in order to avoid the convective loss. How this convective losses will occur if you don't say, if you don't maintain 2 centimeters, how it, if there is a cover, if it is like this, then what happens, the heat which is being carried out is being maintained inside the conductor will be taken away by the air which is blowing over it, because it is always placed at the roof. So what happens, the air which is blowing against to that, it will take away the heat. So that should not happen. So in order to maintain that, we will maintain around 2 centimeters of gap between the cover as well as the plate, absorber plate. Radiative losses from the absorber plate are lowered by applying a spectrally selective absorbing coatings. That is what we usually we will go with black color of coating, so that the radiation emission will not be much. So emissivity will be is equal to 1. During the normal steady state operations, useful heat delivered by a solar collector is equal to the heat gained by the liquid flowing through the tubes welded onto the underside of the observer plate minus the losses. This is what I will give it in the equations like this. Now the energy balancing of the absorber can thus be represented by a mathematical equation which is given by Q of U, that is a useful, U stands for useful heat loss delivered by the collectors in terms of watts, is equal to A P, that is it is nothing but an absorber plate area, that will be in meter square. Plate area or absorber plate area into solar heat energy absorbed by the absorber plate. The radiations or the heat absorbed by the absorber plate is given by S, which will be in terms of watts per meter square. This product is being subtracted with Q suffix L, that is the heat loss, rate of heat loss by the convection and re-radiation from the top by conduction and convection from the bottom side of the from the bottom sides, that is in terms of watts only. So on balancing it, you will get it in terms of watts only. Is that clear? So this is the expression for energy balancing. We will solve the numericals based on this in the later stage of this module. If you consider the solar flux falling on an inclined surface is expressed by, so total in solar radiations falling or a solar flux I suffix T is equal to I suffix B into R into B plus ID into RD plus IB plus ID into RS. The flux absorbed is obtained if the equation is multiplied by the transmissivity and absorptivity product. So tau is nothing but the transmissivity and alpha is nothing but the absorptivity factor. What do you mean by this transmissivity? That means that before I explain this expression, the solar radiations which are falling onto this any object it may be, there are three chances. One is a transmittivity, absorptivity and reflectivity. If the 100 radiations are falling onto this, and a part of solar radiations will be transmitted and a part of solar radiations will be absorbed and a part of radiations will be reflected back. So that is what the solar radiations which have been absorbed per to the with respect to the total solar radiations which have been falling onto that will gives us the absorptivity. The same way, the amount of solar radiations which have been passed through or transmitted through the object or a material with respect to the total number of solar radiations falling onto that will give you a transmissivity. Therefore, S is equal to IB into RB into tau into alpha, that is absorbed transmissivity into absorptivity into B with respect to the B plus IB into RD plus IB plus RD, sum of this into RS, completely multiplied by transmissivity and absorptivity with respect to the. Is it clear? Now, where tau and alpha is the transmitted absorptivity product for the beam radiation falling onto the collector, and tau alpha d is the transmitted absorptivity product for the diffused radiations. It is a beam and it is a diffused radiations. Even over here, this is I is the solar radiation, I into B, IB and RB are the product of the total solar radiations of the beam radiations, whereas here it is a diffused radiations. The instantaneous collectors efficiency is defined. Once again, this is the formula that we popularly use it. The instantaneous collector efficiency is defined as the ratio of useful heat gain to radiation falling on the collector. It is expressed by eta is equal to eta of instantaneous is equal to Qu divided by AP into IP. Now, this Qu is nothing but what we have achieved here. Absorber, the heat, the useful heat that is being absorbed by the collector, and the AP is nothing but the area of a absorber, and then we have an IT. IT we have derived over here. It is a solar flux, total solar flux. So it is nothing but sum of this beam as well as the diffused radiations. Now here, what do you mean by this instantaneous solar collector efficiency? It is nothing but whenever the solar radiations falls onto this absorber plate, what at that instant, at that time, at that instance of solar radiations which are falling onto that particular place, how much that solar energy or solar radiations are instantaneously converted into heat. That is what this instantaneous collector efficiency does. So it is nothing but the ratio of Qu divided by AP into IT. Depending upon the given data, the collector aperture area AA, this is an aperture area and this is a absorber plate area, or the collector gross area is used in place of AP in the above equation. So in the above equation, based on that we can decide it. In most of the cases, in 9 out of 10 cases, what happens, the aperture area will be always nearly equal to the absorber area. The collector aperture area is a net opening in the top cover through which the solar radiations passes into the collector. It is nearly 15% greater than the absorber plate area. So that means if you have any cover, if this is a absorber plate and this is a cover, see this cover will be always in minimum 15%. If this is a 1 meter square, then this will be 1.15 meter square. So that means 15% extra area will be taken for the cover. So it is only to make sure that the absorber plate should be exposed maximum. There should not be any shading effect should occur onto that. This is the idea behind of it. The collector gross area is the top cover area including frame and the aperture area, that is AA, is about 20% higher than the aperture area. That is the plate area. Exactly. So this aperture area will be always 20% higher than that of the plate area or the absorber plate area. So why? Because at any cost there should not be any shading effects and it should be exposed maximum. Is it clear? At this stage, the absorber plate attains a temperature so that the plate absorber plate area into the S is equal to QL. This is what we have given it over here. Is it clear? Solar heat energy absorbed by the absorber plate into the absorber plate area is equal to the QL. Is it clear? This is the maximum temperature that absorber plate can retain and is called as a stagnation temperature. Now, my dear friends, this is what he says. If the useful heat delivered by the collector, if this is 0, so then the QL will be equal to AP into QS. Even in this expression, if you take it, QU is equal to 0, then what happens? QL is equal to AP into S. This is what the idea behind of it. Okay, at this stage what happens, the maximum temperature that the observer plate can attain, that is what we call it as a stagnation temperature. This is very important, and based on this only we are going to discuss about the flat plate collectors performance. These are all the few performance study of the liquid flat plate collectors. Based on this, we are going to design any uh, flat plate collector, whether it may be a domestic applications or in industrial or commercial building applications. Based on this only, we are just going to design the uh, flat plate collector, liquid flat plate collectors.